After dying of old age, I woke up back in college. Seeing Felix, I instinctively snuggled up to him for a kiss. Morning, honey. It was only when I felt his body go rigid that I snapped awake. Oh crap. At this point in time, Felix and I were still sworn enemies. Like, the kind of enemies who wished the other would just disappear from the face of the earth. Felix and I met when we were 6, but we didn't get together until we were 36. We fought and bickered, well, more like went through thick and thin for 50 years. When I finally closed my eyes for the last time, it was peaceful. No pain, no regrets. So I don't get it. Why did I open my eyes and find myself back in college? Did this whole Reborn thing pick the wrong guy? I don't even have anyone to get revenge on. But right now, I had no time to think about that. Felix was leaning against the wall with his arms crossed, watching me with a smug look. Cat got your tongue? He was waiting for me to explain my ridiculous behavior. 5 minutes ago, I'd woken up in a daze, seen Felix, and instinctively wrapped my arms around his waist, nuzzling my face into his neck and asking for a kiss. He was so shocked he froze solid. Took him a long moment to shove me away. How was I supposed to explain that this was basically a conditioned reflex from decades of habit? Couldn't. Not a chance. If I told him right now that we'd been together for half a century and did this every morning, he'd gleefully ship me off to a psych ward. After all, everyone at a university knew that Felix and Leo were like oil and water. I scratched my head and blurted out, I was having a sex dream. He scoffed. You call out honey in your sex dreams? Oh, right. I did call him that when I asked for a kiss. Seeing my silence, the smirk on his face deepened. Leo, I never would have guessed. You're into guys? And so damn horny you're moaning in your dreams. If you're that worked up, why don't you go find a rolling pin to shove up your ass? What a nasty thing to say. My blood pressure was skyrocketing. I instinctively reached for my pocket, only to find it empty and remember, I'm in my early 20s again. I don't need blood pressure medication yet. Shut up. Shut up? Make me. He laughed again. I think I'll do just that. I'll shout it from the rooftops until the whole department knows. Let's see how high and mighty you act then. I froze. I remembered. At this point in time, Felix and I were competing for the top scholarship. I'd won an award in a national competition, which gave me an academic credit boost that put me way ahead of him. I couldn't resist rubbing it in his face that it was in the bag for me. Being gay was still a pretty big deal back then. If this got out, it could easily turn into a conduct issue, and it wasn't impossible they'd disqualify me from the award. This was so frustrating. It wasn't about the scholarship money, it was about Felix's attitude right now. So passive-aggressive and hostile. I knew our relationship was terrible at this point, and he didn't have the ability to see the future, to know how much he would love me one day. He wasn't in the wrong. But hearing those words from the man I love still hurt. Go on, then. Shout it out, I muttered, pulling the covers back over myself. I'm going back to my dream. The Felix in there is waiting for me. Hold on. Felix's eyes widened. He grabbed my shoulder and yanked me out from under the covers. Who the fuck were you dreaming about? When he heard me say you, he looked like he'd just eaten shit and scrambled back to his own dorm room. I fell back asleep, but unfortunately, I didn't dream. When I woke up, it was already dark. My roommate had turned on the light, and the bare incandescent bulb swayed on its wire, casting shifting shadows across the room. So I'm still here. I'd half expected to wake up back in my coffin. Then again, in the original timeline, I should be a pile of ashes by now, mixed together with Felix's and sealed under a slab of concrete. We never adopted kids or got any pets, so naturally, no one would be coming to pay their respects. I was lost in thought when my roommate reminded me, aren't you going to go shower? The communal showers are about to close. I mumbled a reply, slowly got out of bed, grabbed my wash basin and towel, and shuffled in my flip-flops toward the showers. My mind hadn't adjusted to this young body yet, so I walked slowly. At the entrance, a wave of steam and heat washed over me. I saw Felix immediately. His shower curtain was only half drawn, and he was rinsing soap suds off his body. The dim yellow light softened his powerfully defined muscles, but it was still enough to set off fireworks in my brain. I could feel my heart start to race as hot blood rushed through me. It was like my whole body had just been activated. The year we turned 36, Felix and I had both climbed to leadership positions at 2 different tech companies. Our rivalry had evolved from fighting over grades to competing over company market caps and annual profits. At a business gala, we both accidentally drank some spiked drinks and, through a strange twist of fate, ended up locked in a room together. The person who'd spiked the drinks was targeting someone else. They probably never imagined that 2 guys in their mid-30s would start a bizarre, childish competition and down the entire tray of drinks. That night, Felix and I fought tooth and nail over who got to be on top. In the end, my stamina gave out and he had me pinned until dawn. Afterward, trying to save a little face, I shakily said, "Your technique is garbage. Give me 2 of your projects and we'll call it even." For once, Felix didn't snap back. He silently stubbed out his cigarette and came over to help me put my pants on. A week later, he cornered me outside my office. "You can have the projects, but I don't want to call it even." Looking back now, our beginning was a case of getting one taste and being hooked for life. Unfortunately, we only got a few good years of that before we hit middle age, when the spirit is willing but the flesh is weak. When I snapped out of it, I was already standing right behind Felix. He seemed to sense me, whipping his head around with wide eyes. "What the hell are you doing?" I ignored his panicked anger, my gaze slowly drifting down to his narrow waist. I wanted to touch it. I'd never gotten to touch the 20-year-old Felix. In fact, that's exactly what I did. "Leo." He violently yanked my hand away. "Snap out of it. For fuck's sake. Are you still dreaming?" He was so strong it hurt. I suddenly felt wronged. "Felix, you can't treat me like this." He was dumbfounded, his voice laced with urgency. "What did I do to you? You're the one who, oh, are you talking about this afternoon?" I haven't told a soul. I wasn't really listening. His breath was coming in short gasps, and the muscles of his lower abs flexed with every rise and fall of his stomach. It was beautiful. He grabbed my chin, forcing my head up. "Stop staring." Steam filled the air, and Felix's face was almost completely red. My eyes drifted to his Adam's apple, bobbing as he swallowed. So sexy. I wanted to suck on it. My gaze must have been too obvious. He realized where I was looking and, flustered and angry, turned my face toward the wall. "I can't believe you. Leo, are you possessed or something? You should have your mom call a priest to perform an exorcism." "No need for a priest," I managed to say. "You just need to fuck me. That'll fix it." Felix seemed to turn to stone for a few seconds, even holding his breath. Then he completely lost it, frantically pushing me away. "You're insane. Get away from me." He shoved me without mercy. I stumbled and fell to the floor. Before I could even cry out in pain, there was a loud clang from the doorway. A student had dropped his enamel washbasin and was turning to shout for help. "Felix and Leo are fighting." Because of the fight in the showers, both Felix and I were disqualified from the scholarship. He probably couldn't bring himself to say, "Leo wants to sleep with me," so he didn't try to argue. "So this was your plan? A mutual destruction where you lose even more than I do. Was it really worth it?" I was lying face down on my bed, my ass still throbbing with pain. "Get me a glass of water." "Who do you think you're ordering around?" I licked my lips. "I'm thirsty." With a dark expression and a tone that was anything but friendly, Felix grumbled. "Where's your cup? Damn, when was the last time you washed this thing? Didn't you know the electric kettle was empty?" He stomped out, cursing under his breath, and came back a few minutes later with a full kettle. I suddenly remembered something. "Felix, why were you in my dorm room yesterday?" He paused, mid-pour. "Your roommate said you hadn't woken up. I came to see if you were dead." TSK, what a disappointment. He held the cup out to me, but I didn't take it. I struggled to push myself up and leaned over to drink from it. The moment my lips touched the rim, Felix snatched it back. "What the fuck? Don't you have hands? Do I need to spoon feed you? We were an old married couple. It's not like you haven't fed me before. When I was hospitalized in my 50s, you even helped me with the bedpan." I pressed my lips together and said nothing. I took the cup and slowly sipped some water. Just as I swallowed, the pain in my ass flared up again. This time it lasted longer, and I couldn't help but whimper. Too hot? I added cold water. The cup was taken from my hand as Felix grabbed it back. It's the perfect temperature. Are you trying to scam me again? Ugh. Felix, I gasped, clutching the bedsheets. Can you take a look for me? Is my ass bruised? It hurts even more today than it did yesterday. Felix didn't answer. I cautiously lifted my head and met his complex gaze. Do you have any idea what you're saying? Yeah. I can't see it myself. And what good would it do if I looked? Would you magically be up and jumping around? He had a point, but hearing him say it was so disheartening. I buried my face in the pillow. Forget it. Just go. And Felix actually left. Decisively. He didn't linger for a second. Hearing the door close, a bitter feeling welled up in my chest. I shouldn't have any expectations for the Felix of this age. I just have to wait for my roommate to get back and ask him to take a look. If it was bad, I'd have to go to the campus clinic. But my roommate didn't come back. Felix did. And the campus doctor was with him. The doctor prescribed a bottle of muscle rub for the bruising and assigned the task of applying it to Felix. Felix balked. Why me? Because your names are on the same disciplinary notice. Are you going to tell me you didn't hit him? Felix opened his mouth to argue several times but swallowed his words. He gave in. But when he applied the ointment, his touch clearly carried a bit of personal resentment. Ouch! Don't be so rough. Ah! He clamped a hand over my mouth. Felix's brow was furrowed, his teeth clenched. Are you moaning like you're in bed? Can you not be so disgusting? My eyelashes grew damp with tears. I lowered my eyes and stopped making a sound. His hands paused for a moment. He clicked his tongue, looked away, and quickly finished the job. After washing his hands, he came back out and saw me still lying motionless in the same position. He gave the foot of the bed a light kick. Did I hurt your feelings with a few words? You were being so loud. There are only 2 of us in this dorm. But did you even think about what would happen if someone else heard you? From my current angle, I had a perfect view of his hips. A blue and white striped shirt, white trousers, and a slim brown leather belt cinching a perfect waistline. Back then, I just thought Felix was a trend chaser trying to steal my spotlight. Now, damn, he was gorgeous. 36-year-old Felix was handsome, and 56-year-old Felix was handsome. But this Felix, he was young, vibrant, and healthy. I suddenly froze. Hey, are you deaf? Felix waved a hand in front of my face. I snapped back to reality and looked into his eyes. They were a light, clear, brilliant brown. If you have something to say, just say it. Why are you staring at me? I blurted out, I want to touch yours. Touch what? You finished touching mine, so now it's my turn. WH. He cut himself off, jumping back a few feet in shock and anger. Leo, what are you talking about? I was putting ointment on you, not groping your ass. You didn't grope it? That was applying ointment. So you didn't grope it? When Felix spoke again, his voice was weak, tinged with surrender. I did, but it was to apply the... I cut him off, right? And I want to touch yours. He pressed his lips together. After a long standoff, he shuffled toward me. Whoa, is he really going to let me? Just as I reached out, he grabbed my wrist. Leo, are you sick? He pinned my hand to the bed and used his free hand to feel my forehead. Did you have a fever yesterday? You're acting, not like you're messing with me, but more like you're delirious. You used to hate me so much you couldn't even stand to breathe the same air as me. Did we really used to hate each other that much? It was so long ago. Not just in another century, but in another lifetime. I can't really remember that feeling. I only remember that when we finally fell in love, we couldn't get enough of each other. I loved everything about him. Okay, fine. I don't actually want to touch you. Felix froze for a second, then let out a breath of relief. But his eyes inexplicably dimmed. I knew you were just messing with, I want to sleep with you. Ignoring his shock, I continued, I don't hate you at all. You're the only man I could ever be with. Only you can open my body. Leo, Felix shouted, cutting me off. His face was beet red, a vein throbbing in his temple, his chest heaving. Do Do you have any shame? Any decency at all? How can you say things like that? That's shameful? I was just getting started. Too bad Felix didn't give me another chance. He fled in a complete panic. I stared blankly for a moment, a wave of regret washing over me. My mind is still used to being totally unfiltered, and I completely forgot that this Felix is still an innocent college kid. What I just said was way too much for him to handle. But he's right here in front of me. I don't want to wait until I'm 36 again. The doctor's muscle rub worked wonders. After a night's sleep, I could walk normally again. I got up bright and early, bought breakfast, and took it to Felix's dorm. His roommate saw me and immediately got defensive. If you two are gonna fight, take it outside. Don't get me involved. We're not fighting. Want a cruller or a scallion roll? He didn't dare to eat anything, probably afraid I'd poisoned it. He made an excuse about morning exercises and bolted. Felix tried to run, too, but I caught him on his bed with his pants half on. What the hell do you want? Bringing you breakfast. Is that so hard to understand? He had a dazed, sleepy look on his face, like he'd been forcibly rebooted. It was adorable. I wanted to kiss him. Resist. Can't scare him away. Gotta take it step by step. I started dropping by his dorm whenever I felt like it. I got a copy of his class schedule and shamelessly started attending his lectures with him. Everyone thought it was bizarre. My official explanation was, after the last incident, I've come to a profound realization. Students should foster unity and friendship, not competition and conflict. We should be model students, embodying virtue and integrity. I'm sure Felix agrees. We're working on becoming good friends and moving forward together. The professors were pleased. The other students were pleased, which made Felix look like a real jerk for giving me the cold shoulder. Felix, come on. Leo got beaten up by you and he's still being so mature about it. Why are you so petty?
Yeah, man.
He's a guy, and he's swallowing his pride to hang around you every day. What more do you want? Not for nothing, but didn't he get dragged down with you? Leo's grades were way higher than yours. Felix didn't say a word, but later he pinned me against a wall in private. You talk such a good game. Do they have any idea how twisted your thoughts really are? I didn't hear a single word he said. I was too delighted by our current position. Wow, pinning me against the wall? How nostalgic. He froze. What's that supposed to mean? It's what we're doing right now. According to the script, this is when you kiss me. Felix's fierce expression instantly crumbled. He let go of me like he'd been electrocuted. Who wants to kiss you? Stuttering. Flustered. Adorable. Kissing is optional. I hooked a finger on his belt, slowly knelt down, and looked up at him, my chin brushing against the fabric of his pants. Felix, how long has it been since you got off? He was so stunned by the question that he just stared blankly. Great, I overdid it again. But I'd already said it, so I might as well keep going. He wasn't ready to let me please him, but could he really refuse if I offered to please him? I bit the zipper tab with my teeth and had just started to pull it down when he moved. He moved like a newly assembled, uncalibrated robot. His whole body went rigid as he stiffly pushed my face away. Leo, I'm begging you, please just be normal. I am being normal. You, on the other hand, I drew out the words innocently, are a little sensitive, don't you think? His Adam's apple bobbed. He clearly knew what I was talking about. For a moment, he didn't know whether to keep pushing my head away or cover his own crotch. After a clumsy scramble, he just managed to stammer, I have to get back to class, and left. He was practically tripping over his own feet, and the tips of his ears were so red they looked like they were bleeding. The day the scholarship results were officially posted, the student who had been ranked third suddenly invited me to dinner. I was a little surprised but quickly accepted. After all, if Felix and I hadn't been disqualified, he never would have gotten the money. I didn't accept because I wanted a free meal. Felix had been avoiding me for days, and I was desperate for an excuse to keep trying to seduce him. It was only when I got to the little restaurant that I realized Felix wasn't there. He didn't want to come? The student nervously cleaned my bowl and chopsticks for me and gave a tight smile. I only invited you. My hand, which was reaching for some food, paused. What do you mean? I soon understood the source of his awkwardness and anxiety. He was the one who had walked in on me and Felix in the showers. Things had been so chaotic that day, and my ass had hurt like hell. I hadn't gotten a good look at who it was. Not that I would have remembered him anyway. We'd never interacted before. I heard everything from outside the door. "I know you two weren't fighting," he stammered, glancing at me. "But I really need this money." His family was poor, and his sister, whom he was solely responsible for, had gotten sick. He was at his wit's end and was about to drop out of college to work, but this opportunity had unexpectedly solved both problems. "I'm really sorry. When I make money in the future, I'll definitely pay you back. Don't worry about paying me back. It's not like just anyone can get the top scholarship through a little cleverness. You have the skills to back it up. But it should have been yours. Should have been. And you could have just kept this to yourself." But he chose to confess to me. I smiled and opened a bottle of beer. The little restaurant was noisy, and the steam and greasy smoke created a hazy fog. He apologized again and started rambling about his family problems. I suddenly asked him, "Don't you think I'm disgusting?" He paused, then shook his head. "It's been around in every era. It's normal." My thoughts suddenly drifted. Felix and I had sponsored a lot of people over the years. Some insisted on thanking us in person, but their faces would change the moment they saw their benefactors were a gay couple, as if our money was suddenly dirty. Others found out we didn't have any children and tried every trick in the book to get their own kids added to our household registry, hoping they'd inherit our considerable fortune. It was all in the past and I'd made peace with it, but now that one word, normal, made my eyes well up. I couldn't stop myself from drinking a little too much. After paying the bill, the student helped support me as we walked back to campus. Leaning against him, I secretly slipped some money into his pocket. "Looks like it's about to snow," he said. Hearing that, I looked up. The dark blue sky was diced into small pieces by a web of electrical wires. Each piece looked heavy, pregnant with snow. Probably. The hot air I exhaled condensed into a cloud of white frost. As the mist dissipated, I saw Felix up ahead. He was standing at the entrance to an alley, his hands in his pockets, with colorful strings of neon lights behind him. His face was blank. He met my gaze for 2 seconds, then shot a cold look at the person next to me before turning and walking away without a word. It took me a few seconds to process what had happened, and then I staggered after him. The student called out from behind me, "Leo, be careful." I couldn't spare a second to reply because Felix was walking even faster. "Felix." I tried to call out to him, my voice echoing down the alley. Felix faltered for a second but didn't stop. His back grew smaller and smaller in the distance. I slowly came to a stop, leaning against a wall to catch my breath. I had been so lost in old memories during dinner that I'd stuffed myself without realizing it. Now my stomach was churning. The cold wind was hitting my head directly, making my brain feel dizzy and swollen. It felt awful, but none of it was as bad as the ache in my heart. It felt like a sour bubble had burst inside my chest, leaving it shriveled and tight. I thought about that gala again. Those kinds of business functions were routine for us. But no matter the occasion, Felix always kept a clear head. He knew I was a lightweight. One drink, a little fresh air, and I'd be completely out of it and miserable. He had to stay sober to take me home. He'd make me a hangover cure, help me change, hold me, and massage my temples, patting my back and taking care of me if I had to get up in the night. Back then, I always had his back to lean on, broad, solid, and warm. Not this cold wind piercing through me. "Hey, can you still walk?" The whistling wind suddenly hit pause. Someone was standing beside me, blocking it. The warmth that had been seeping out of my body slowly started to return. I dazedly turned my head. My vision was blurry, but I still recognized him instantly. It was Felix. He warned me with a stern face, "If I find out you're still messing with me, I'm really going to beat you up." I stared at him for a long moment, overcome by a sudden, inexplicable sense of grievance. "Felix, you left me. How could you just leave me behind? We were supposed to walk this path together. You're a liar. You left without a word. You didn't leave me a single message." Do you know how much I suffered those last few years? Every day, I wanted to go find you sooner, but I was afraid you'd scold me for coming too early. When the doctors finally said it was time to give up, I was so happy. I could finally come find you without any worries. Felix's hand came to rest on my wrist, his brow furrowed. Leo, what are you talking about? Felix. Hot tears streamed down my face. I grabbed his collar, my sobs uncontrollable. I love you so much. The man in front of me visibly flinched, his casual expression suddenly turning serious. After a long pause, a self-deprecating smile touched his lips. 1 minute you're saying you love me, that I'm the only one you can be with, and the next you're all over some other guy. You talk so much shit. There's not an honest word that comes out of your mouth. That's not it. I wanted to explain, but as soon as I opened my mouth, a terrible feeling surged through me. It was too late to turn away. Blarg. I threw up everything I had eaten and drunk that night all over Felix. His expression was beyond foul. He spoke through gritted teeth, enunciating every word. Leo, is this what you meant by only opening your body for me? I don't know how Felix got me back to the dorm. When I woke up, my head was still suffering the after effects of a hangover, and I felt dizzy all over. My roommate handed me a glass of water, wiggling his eyebrows at me. So you two really buried the hatchet? It took me a few seconds to process his words before I realized he was talking about Felix. He carried you all the way back up here. He was only wearing a sweater and was shivering from the cold. He even specifically told me to give you some warm water when you woke up. By the way, where were you guys drinking? Take me with you next time. The warm water soothed my throat, and the discomfort eased. I gave him a vague answer and got out of bed to find Felix. He wasn't there. Was he still avoiding me? Damn it. Did I say something out of line last night? Couldn't remember. I clutched my head, trying to recall, when someone tapped my shoulder. Leo, there's a phone call for you at the front desk. The call was from my family, asking me to come home. Halfway there on the bus, snow began to fall outside the window. Someone on the bus remarked that the first snow had come early this year, which meant a good harvest next year. The first snow. My mind suddenly went sharp. The swirling snow outside the window blurred in my vision. Felix had passed away 5 years before me. That was also on a snowy day. We were on the balcony, brewing tea by the stove, roasting peanuts and rice cakes. Felix saw the snow had stopped and said he was going out to buy some clementines. I saw other people roasting them. Our stove looked so empty. That meaningless sentence became our last. He slipped on the icy ground and never woke up. The doctor said it was likely a flare-up of an old injury. For the elderly, any fall can be fatal. It was a tragedy, but there was nothing to be done. Felix had an old leg injury from his youth. He could walk just fine on a normal day, but when it was windy, rainy, or cold, the pain would become severe. I knew how he got that injury. Our house had been broken into once. Felix, who happened to be awake, saw the thief. When he chased after him, the desperate thief smashed his shin with an iron bar. That day was also the first snow of the year. It was today. Felix and I became neighbors when we were 6. Our fathers had a huge fight over company-assigned housing, and our family's relationship had been sour ever since. We barely spoke. Little kids don't have a concept of grudges. Their ideas are shaped by their families. If your family said someone was a bad guy, then they were a bad guy. That ingrained impression was reinforced time and again, and Felix and I became sworn enemies. Now I was knocking on his door. His mother was surprised to see me.
Hello, Mom.
I'm looking for Felix. I had run all the way from the bus stop. I tried to calm my breathing, but I was still panting heavily. She looked blankly behind her, where Felix was eating. Last night I got drunk and passed out on the road. Felix did a good deed and brought me back to the dorm. I wanted to thank him in person. He carried you? Didn't you two just get into a fight? An idea struck me. Actually, the thing is, that award didn't really mean much to us, but the student ranked behind us really needed the money. So Felix and I staged a fight to let him have it. She was clearly not that easy to fool, her expression skeptical. As I was trying to figure out how to spin the story further, Felix's voice came from behind her. Mom, it's just like he said. By the time Felix and I got together, this old apartment building had already been demolished. This was the first time I'd ever set foot in the room that held his childhood memories. I was filled with a sense of novelty, looking around at everything. Wow, when was this picture taken? You're so cute. This chessboard, did you get it from the chess club next to a university's elementary school? I have one too. How come I've never seen you wear this shirt? Afraid we'd be wearing the same thing? Felix leaned against the cabinet next to me and interrupted. What is it? You came all the way to my house. I grinned. To thank you. Cut the crap. To see how you're doing. I heard you got really cold last night. Ha, he scoffed, sitting on the bed. I won't freeze to death. Okay, I came to apologize. Felix glanced up at me, silent this time. I was upset about something last night and drank too much. I lost control. I didn't mean to throw up on you. Oh, he replied coldly. After a pause, he asked, because you lost the scholarship? Huh? The upsetting thing. Why was he focused on that? Of course not. About the scholarship, half of what I told your mom was true. The student I had dinner with was the one who got it, and he really needed the money. We can just think of it as helping. I trailed off, my heart pounding. I leaned in and asked tentatively, You're worried about me? Don't be so full of yourself. Then do you hate me? Felix looked away. Are you done? I want to sleep. My bunk bed was leaking last night, and I didn't get any sleep. I stared at him intently, then reached out and cupped his face. You're going to love me, just like I love you. Before he could react, I quickly pecked him on the corner of his lips. Go to bed early tonight. I used the excuse of an upset stomach to get out of going to a wedding with my family out of town. I wasn't planning on sleeping tonight. Getting old makes you forgetful. How could I have no regrets? I had so many. Given a second chance, I had to help him avoid this pointless leg injury. I vaguely remembered the thief breaking in around midnight. Factoring in police response time, I used the landline to call the police 10 minutes early. But just as I hung up, I heard a rustling sound at the door. My heart skipped a beat. He's this early? But I had double-locked the door and thrown the bolt so he shouldn't be able to get in. The noise continued for about a minute, then stopped. I crept over to the door, held my breath, and listened for a while. It seemed like no one was out there anymore. Did he give up? As I slowly straightened up, my ear caught a faint click. If I were in my 80s, I'd tell myself it was just my old bones creaking after bending over for too long. But right now, I was only in my early 20s. I knew someone had gotten into the house, upstairs. Damn it, this thief had really cased the joint. He must have been watching my house for a while, knowing the security bars on a second-floor window were broken. I was torn between hiding and bolting out the front door when the creaking from above grew closer. He was coming down the stairs. My heart was about to pound out of my chest. In a panic, I dove under the tablecloth. As I sat back, I bumped a chair, making a short, sharp noise. I clamped my hand over my mouth. In that critical moment, I remembered the deadbolt was still engaged. Something that could only be operated from the inside was a dead giveaway that someone was home. I silently prayed he was a coward and would leave as soon as he realized. The snow had started to accumulate, reflecting light into the house, so it wasn't dark. I could clearly see the man's cloth shoes as he came down the last 2 steps. A tattered cloth bag hung at his waist, its contents vaguely outlined. My radio, and it looked like a few of my award medals. He was now dismantling the landline phone downstairs. There wasn't much to steal in this era. Anything with a bit of metal could be sold for cash. I was getting anxious. Was it because of the snow? The police were taking forever. It was only when I saw him walk out with our television that I breathed a sigh of relief. Whatever. Better to lose money than get hurt. My heart had just started to settle when I heard the crunch of footsteps on snow from outside. They were light but steady. The thief obviously heard it too and quickly moved toward the front door. He paused for a second when he saw the bolt, but only a second. He quickly unlocked it and turned the knob. A blast of cold wind and snow rushed into the house. The tablecloth blew up, and I saw the last person I wanted to see right now. Didn't I tell him to go to bed early? Felix stood in the doorway, his voice as cold as the snowy night. Put it down. I scrambled out from under the table and shouted at Felix. Get away from him. He was armed. Everything that happened next was a blur. Snow kicked up during the struggle fell like the flakes from the sky, and the world seemed to shift into slow motion. Adrenaline took over my body. My mind had only one thought. Felix cannot get hurt. Police sirens wailed in the distance like a signal. Suddenly, the strength drained from my body. My knees gave out and I collapsed onto the floor. Felix quickly caught me. Why are you at home? I couldn't answer. I was frantically checking him over, patting him up and down. Thank God he wasn't hurt. Stop touching me, I'm fine. He grabbed my wrist. Your hand is cut. We need to go to the hospital. I stared blankly at my palm. The searing pain finally registered in my nerves, and I belatedly sucked in a breath. You're an idiot. Didn't you know you could just let go? Couldn't let go. If I had let go, that iron bar would have swung at the man I love. By the time we got together, more than a decade had passed since this incident. The memory had faded, and even knowing he had a chronic injury from it didn't hit me that hard. But now I really wanted to ask, Felix, why did you have to get involved? You hate me so much. You should have been happy to see my stuff get stolen. Felix helped me into the police car, because I couldn't sleep, and I happened to see it. While you couldn't sleep, were you watching me? He slammed the door shut. After getting my hand bandaged and giving a statement, it was the middle of the night. My family had been notified and were on their way home. Felix and I said goodbye at the street corner. I was still shaken and wanted him to stay with me, but his mom was waiting for him at his door. Well, you get some sleep then. I slowly walked back, up the steps and into the house. The moment the door closed, a hand suddenly shot out and stopped it. Seeing as you're so pathetic, I'll reluctantly keep you company for a bit. There was only one pillow on my bed. Felix lay fully clothed on the very edge, not even under the covers. I wiggled over and lifted a corner of the blanket. Aren't you cold? No, but I'm cold. I lost a lot of blood, and my body is freezing. I can't even warm up the blanket by myself. I said it so pathetically that Felix finally moved. But he only got under the covers, staying as far away from me as possible. Felix, I'm scared. Can you move a little closer? Ha, he snorted. You're scared of what? You were the one fighting like a maniac earlier. You scared the crap out of the thief. I was scared you'd get hurt, I mumbled. You're so petty.
I'm petty.
Felix laughed. After what you did to me this afternoon, I'm being generous by not punching you. I played dumb. What did I do? The bed springs creaked as Felix turned onto his side, his eyes dark. Trying to get out of it? I'm getting old. My memory's not so good. Felix took a deep breath, his tone stiff. You kissed me. I said that one word and then fell silent. The room was quiet except for our breathing and the soft sound of snow falling outside. After a while, he couldn't help but speak. Is that all? I'm thinking. Thinking about what? Do you regret it? I'm thinking, if I kissed you again right now, would you punch me? Felix shut his mouth. Would you? Felix didn't speak. I slowly leaned in, getting closer and closer to his face until our breaths mingled. I'm an injured person right now. You can't hit me. Felix still said nothing. I pressed my lips against his, as light as a feather. I clearly felt his eyelashes tremble and his breath instantly lose its rhythm. Do you like it? His voice was much raspier. It's disgusting. Oh, then open your mouth. In the dim light, Felix's gaze locked onto mine. For what? To give you a taste of something even more disgusting. After so many years, a kiss initiated by me. The 20-something Felix and the 20-something Leo. Young bodies are amazing. The space under the covers quickly became unbearably hot. At my urging, Felix silently took off his clothes. He had been quite passionate during our deep kiss, but for some reason, he was suddenly radiating a low-pressure vibe. He must be shy. I didn't have time to dwell on it, I was a nervous wreck myself. If Felix had his awakening after we slept together the first time, then tonight had to be a perfect first experience for him. In my past life and this one combined, I had never worked so hard. But the more I tried to be seductive, the calmer he became. The romantic scene pretty much became my one-man show. At the critical moment, he suddenly pushed me away and got up. "I see you're not cold anymore. I'm going home." I was completely dumbfounded. I wanted to cling to him, but I suddenly heard my parents' voices downstairs, so I had to cut things short. The next morning, I went to Felix's house with a fruit basket from my parents to thank him, only to be told he had already gone back to school. Where did I go wrong? He couldn't be that shy, could he? I rushed back to campus and staked out his dorm. There were dark circles under Felix's eyes. He clearly hadn't slept at all. "What's your problem? You sleep with someone and then you run?" He glanced at me, his gaze flickering away. We didn't finish. Was this a return policy? I'd been returned? This was the ultimate humiliation. I grabbed his collar and pushed him onto the bed. "Felix, I wasn't on my game last night. Let's try again." He turned his head, avoiding my kiss. I gritted my teeth and forced his head straight. "If you've got the guts, then hit me." Prying his lips open this time was incredibly difficult. It wasn't until I tasted blood that he finally relented, letting me wreak havoc inside his mouth. I was so absorbed I didn't hear the noise outside the dorm room. When Felix shoved me away, the door opened. His roommate came in groaning, "Ouch, ouch, ouch." He didn't notice us. I silently backed away. "What happened?" He grimaced. "The path to the water pump room is iced over." Slipped and fell. Damn it. I remembered the doctor's muscle rub. I still have half the bottle I used. "I'll go get it for you." I went back to my dorm, splashed some water on my face, and returned with the ointment. He was already lying face down on his bed. "Thanks, man. I was wrong about you before. You're a really good guy. Be gentle, okay?" He wanted me to apply it? Well, I guess I could. I knelt by his bed and was about to unscrew the cap when someone grabbed my elbow. The bottle was snatched from my hand and tossed in front of the roommate. Felix dragged me out with a cold expression. "What are you doing? Your roommate is waiting." Felix dragged me to the stairwell landing before letting go. I rotated my arm, a little annoyed. Young people are so hot-headed, getting moody over nothing. A mature man would just say what's on his mind, without all this drama. "Who are you comparing me to?" I froze and stiffly lifted my head. His eyes were like a deep ocean, swirling with emotions I couldn't decipher. "I wasn't. Don't deny it. I can feel it." My heart lurched. "Last night, I think I did say something like, 'Why are you so clumsy? Don't you know how to move?' How many have there been?" Felix took a step closer, his sharp presence instantly enveloping me. "How many people have you played with? You're so skilled. Did you practice on other people?" My mind went blank. I had been so focused on getting Felix to accept me as quickly as possible that I had completely missed the fact that his desire had long since receded, replaced by a tide of insecurity and hesitation. Was the Leo in front of him still Leo? His behavior was so forward, like he was a different person, another, more experienced person. Was the love he spoke of real, or was it just a ticket for a physical relationship? And what would happen after he accepted? Would he be thrown away just like all the others before him? I didn't know how to explain. All I could do was shake my head and offer a weak, stammering defense. I wasn't playing, and there's no one else. Felix watched me in silence. A few people came up the stairs, laughing and talking with their kettles of hot water. He gently guided me to the inner side of the stairwell. I stared blankly at his jawline and heard myself ask, "Felix, you do like me, right?" He tilted his head slightly. "Does it matter?" "It matters. It matters a lot, Felix." That night I had a dream. I dreamt I was lying in the snow, flakes drifting down from a gray sky, and all around me were scattered clementines. I shot upright in bed. He wasn't there. Just me, alone in the vast white snow. For the first 2 years after Felix was gone, I couldn't stop my brain from obsessively imagining, over and over, what he saw in his final moments, what he was thinking. Eventually, I stopped thinking about it. I just waited for the doctor to give me my death sentence so I could go ask him myself. In my dream, I lay back down in the snow, staring blankly at the sky. And then, in a certain moment, I heard his voice. "I haven't had enough. Leo, we love too late and miss too much. I want to start over with you from the beginning. I bought breakfast and knocked on Felix's door. His roommate opened it, his eyes lighting up. Thanks, I'll have the scallion roll. Ah, sorry, I didn't get one for you. This is for Felix. Felix was sitting on the edge of his bed. He glanced up at me, then went back to getting dressed. His roommate let out a pained groan and threw on a jacket. You guys are so heartless. Making an injured person apply his own medicine and buy his own breakfast. I hurried him along. If you don't go down now, the scallion rolls will be sold out. He ran off, cursing under his breath. I pulled a table over to his bed and sat down across from him. Felix, let's start over. My name is Leo. I'm your neighbor, your childhood friend, your classmate, your rival. And now, your suitor. This is my first time having a college romance, so please forgive my clumsiness. I'll do better. He stared at me. First time? I nodded. You're the first and you'll be the last. Felix lowered his eyes and started unwrapping his breakfast. I pretended not to see the corner of his mouth twitching upwards and continued. I saw that chessboard in your room last time. Do you like to play? Want to go to the chess club this weekend? He slowly sipped his soy milk. I don't like chess anymore. Then what do you like? He thought for a moment. Movies. Perfect. I pulled 2 flyers out of my pocket. How about this one? It's an action movie. The steam from the soy milk rose between us. Felix looked at me without blinking. Are you serious? Of course. Why? Because I like you, and I want to start over from the beginning before we turn 36. Felix frowned slightly. Why 36? I gave him a mysterious wink. After we turn 36, I'll tell you a story. Bonus chapter. Sweet fluff. On the last day of 1999, Felix was still on a business trip in Hong Kong. Leo called him and it was noisy on the other end. I might not make it back in time. Don't wait up for me. He sounded busy. All right, Mr. Big Shot. Take care of yourself. Leo added a few more reminders and didn't bother him any longer. In the 10 years since they'd graduated from college, their careers had reached new heights, and consequently, they had gotten busier and busier. Leo didn't try to steer Felix's career based on his knowledge of future market trends. Felix had his own goals and ambitions, and Leo's job was to support him quietly. After hanging up, he turned his gaze back to the document in his hand. But after reading a page without absorbing a single word, he sighed in resignation. He might as well just leave early. No one else in the office was in the mood to work anyway. For the past couple of days, the streets had been plastered with "Welcome the Millennium" posters. His secretary had just mentioned that Times Square was already packed with people. Everyone was waiting for the once-in-a-lifetime millennium fireworks and the chiming of the new century's bells. A new century. Leo felt nothing special about it. For most people, it was just another tomorrow. He went to the market, bought some groceries, and walked slowly back to his apartment complex. Passing by the fruit stand, he paused and went inside. The owner was an older woman who brightened when she saw him. She'd had her eye on this well-dressed young man for a while. He was handsome and well-built, and every time she saw him, he was either alone or with another tall man. She'd certainly never seen him with a girlfriend. Leo picked out 2 bags of fruit and put them on the scale, but the woman didn't move. He looked up, confused, and met her gossipy, mysterious smile. He immediately guessed what was coming. Sure enough, she leaned in to get a closer look, her face full of satisfaction. Young man, you live across the street, right? All by yourself? Leo touched the base of his ring finger, thinking, isn't this ring big enough? Next time, he'd have Felix buy him an even bigger, more extravagant one, so people would see it at a glance and know he was taken. I live across the street, he said, turning the ring. His smile was gentle. With my partner. Oh? Well, oh, I see. Yep. Could you weigh this, please? Oh, right. Well, I just always see you by yourself, so I thought you were single. We've come to buy fruit together before. Now the woman was thoroughly embarrassed and could only cover it up with a laugh. Even though she'd never seen him with a woman, he'd said it so clearly, she must have just been too busy to notice. Leo paid and turned to leave the shop. The polite distance he had maintained all along shattered the moment he saw the man at the intersection. Felix, how are you back? Felix, pulling a suitcase, raised an eyebrow at him. Even busy people need to have a love life. But you just said. Leo realized he'd faintly heard an airport announcement during their call. He must have already landed. I was going to surprise you, TSK. Leo's lips curved into a smile. He walked over and tugged on Felix's scarf. This is surprising enough. They hadn't seen each other for a week, and he desperately wanted to wrap his arms around his neck, but he forced himself to hold back. They were still outside. Felix glanced at the 2 bags Leo was holding. Did you have a run-in just now? Leo froze. Before he could deny it, Felix's next words stopped him. Don't lie to me. It wasn't a run-in. Leo was only a little shorter than Felix, and he couldn't avoid his intense gaze. It's just, someone assumed I was single again. It's a little annoying. This happened to them all the time, especially in the last few years. Leo hadn't expected a novel reaction. He was about to turn and head home when Felix grabbed his wrist. Then the warm scarf was draped around his neck. How about we make up for the last 7 days of good morning and good night kisses right now? Leo found this a little funny. Make up for them? As if Felix wouldn't have him pinned against the door the moment they got home. Were they supposed to be counting or timing them? But he still nodded. Fine, I'll make it all up to. The scarf was used to pull him forward. Seeing Felix's face suddenly magnified, he realized the man meant to make up for them on the spot. MMPH, someone? We'll see. His lower lip was bitten. Let them see. Leo belatedly tasted a hint of jealousy, but before he could savor it, he was overwhelmed by Felix's searing, passionate presence. It wasn't until the old woman from the fruit stand gasped in shock that the now limp Leo was finally released. For a couple who'd been apart for a week, that long kiss was just an appetizer. It reawakened a deep, long-dormant desire. The moment they entered the stairwell, they couldn't hold back anymore. Damn it, why did we buy an apartment on the 5th floor? The stairs felt endless, utterly impossible to climb. They stumbled and kissed at every landing, awkwardly lugging a suitcase and cumbersome bags of fruit. The more frantic they were, the more things went wrong. Leo felt his hand go light, and when he opened his eyes, a bag of clementines had spilled all over the stairs. Bright orange orbs, the only splash of color in the gray-blue stairwell. Their rapid breathing paused for a second. Leo couldn't help but cover his face and laugh. They were in their 30s, yet they were as desperate as if they'd never kissed before. I'll get them. You go on up. Saying that, he tied a knot in the torn plastic bag and went down a few steps to pick up the clementines one by one. Felix didn't move. He didn't make a sound. When Leo finished and looked back, he found him staring blankly at the ground, his expression vacant. What's wrong? He waved a hand in front of his face. Are you tired from your trip? Felix slowly shifted his gaze to the face of the man in front of him. Handsome, young, vibrant, his partner. His Adam's apple bobbed. He moved his lips, but in the end said nothing. The winter sky always darkened so quickly. Standing at the door of his and Leo's home, he felt like he was seeing the bare incandescent bulb hanging from a wire in his old college dorm room. The light was swaying. The shadows were swaying. And what was swaying most violently was his own heart. Back then, Leo had wrapped his arms around his neck, cooing in that familiar, clingy tone, asking for a kiss. His soul had swayed with it. It was that early? The point in time Leo went back to was that early. Their last meal of the 20th century was a simple one of 2 dishes and a soup. After dinner, Leo pushed Felix into the bathroom. Take a good, long bath. And get your energy up for me. The balcony of their apartment was the perfect spot to watch the fireworks tonight. The skyscrapers that would one day shoot up were still far in the future. The view was wide open and unobstructed. He spent some time choosing the perfect angle and had just set up his camera when a warm body pressed against him from behind, carrying the scent of damp steam. Seeing the bare skin of his arms, he jumped. Aren't you cold? Put on your pajamas. Don't need to. A kiss landed on his neck, the ends of wet hair brushing against his cheek. Tickled. Leo felt it tickle all the way down to his heart. I haven't showered yet. It's fine. We'll go together later. From the looks of it, later would definitely be in the 21st century. No. Leo pushed him away. Give me 5 minutes. I'll be quick. He took a lightning-fast shower, and when he came out, Felix was already sitting on the bed, waiting. When they first got together, they had to be secretive with their affections, hiding from classmates and family. In that limited time and space, Felix had silently competed with the imaginary man in his mind. Leo had promised there were no other men, but Felix had always felt there was someone else. Now he was both hurt and angry. Why hadn't this bastard just told him sooner? He'd been pointlessly jealous for all these years. After 2 rounds, Leo was lying limply on top of him, his mind blank for less than 2 seconds before he was filled again. Wait, at least let a guy catch his breath. Felix paid him no mind, the force of his thrusts threatening to split him in 2. Leo had felt a subtle sense of something being off earlier, but pleasure had been monopolizing his nerves, leaving no room for thought. It was only when his hands were bound to the headboard that he could spare a little mental energy. Felix was acting a little strange. He craned his neck and saw that his hands were tied with a necktie. He struggled a bit. It was tied tight. What are you doing? This is so sudden. Felix pressed down on him again without a word, his thrusts fierce. No more. Stop. Leo wasn't a fan of bondage play. They had never tried it in all their years together. He preferred something more interactive where he could be pleased while also teasing back. Not this one-sided receiving. Felix bit his shoulder in displeasure, his voice hoarse. Leo, be a good boy. Leave it to me. That sentence. That state. Leo froze for a second, his whole body trembling uncontrollably. Felix, you're back. In their past life, their first time in that hotel. The loser of the Who's on Top battle was defiant, still squirming restlessly. The winner, Felix, could only tie his hands to the headboard and coax him in the gentlest voice he could muster. Leo, be a good boy. Leave it to me. Yeah. Felix panted, thrusting deep. Now you can start making up excuses. Excuses. There really weren't any excuses. Leo felt that if they were going to start over, he couldn't use their past life's behavior and relationship dynamics to demand things from an unknowing Felix. He didn't know if Felix would be reborn, just like him. He only knew that he wanted to properly experience the youth they had missed with this person. If at 36, Felix still didn't have his memories from their past life, he would tell him everything then. He would welcome his Felix back. As he reached the point of exhaustion, he faintly heard the sound of fireworks exploding. Leo glanced at the balcony. The glass on the door reflected the colors of the fireworks. Want to watch? I do. Felix wrapped them both in the blanket and carried him to the balcony. In the distance, the sky was a blaze of glory. The bells of the customs house tower rang out, slow and melodic. And here he was, in the arms of the man he loved most. He suddenly felt that the new century might be pretty good after all.